Astral Surge is stupidly good. I have it ranked near the top of S tier for a reason. From its high damage to its tempo refunding power, this card punches far above its weight for an early game drop. While I have a larger project in the works, it's taking a little bit longer than expected, so I figured I'd make something smaller, mostly directed towards my early game audience, but still relevant for endgame players. This card practically breaks the rules, and I've got a whole rant prepared on why it's as good as I claim it to be, as well as a guide on how to obtain the card for newer players. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious. Astral Surge simply has great numbers. If you showed the stats to a brand new player, Astral Surge would read like a boss fight reward to them, not an early game drop. For 5 bits, you can deal 45 damage to a target. After the attack, the spell breaks, ironic, and 3 bits get refunded back to the caster. Due to the refund, this card has a pseudo cost of 2. That's right, you deal 45 damage for 2 bits. The downside is, of course, reaching 5 bits to use it, which can be a lengthy task without bit gains, but more on that later. The fact that it's 45 attack damage, unlike other 2-bit options, is pretty notable. I find a base damage of 45 as a damage threshold which is reasonable to buff, and getting that good of buffing value for a pseudo cost of 2 is amazing. It lets you be more flexible with what you're buffing up for if you're running buffs, and buff shot is a very prominent archetype everywhere in player progression, which only adds on to its base damage expertise. Really, the only place Astral Surge somewhat falters in is against enemies that have passive defense modifiers or use attack debuffs, but that's really it. When looking at the other 2-cost attack cards, nothing is truly on the level of Astral Surge. Darksteel Dagger used to be the king of 2-bit cards from November 2022 to March 2023. 50 damage if the target's health is above 70%. A great card to use in the early turns of a game, but after its unfortunate nerf, the conditional damage was lowered to 45 and its enemy health conditional was decreased to above 75% health. The cards were both arguably toe-to-toe in power level, with varying pros and cons. However, after the nerf, it felt much more cut and dry which one was strictly better. Heartseeker is more of the same, a previously good attack in a specific stage of a match, this time in the later turns. 2 bits for 45 damage at a range if the enemy had 100 health or lower was great value and at the time one of the best low-cost range cards in the game. Then again, there weren't that many good ones. Just like Darksteel Dagger, however, it too got gutted due to PvP balancing, increasing the base damage to 30 and decreasing conditional damage to 40. The card didn't see much general use in PvE after that. Poison Dagger has really good damage for the cost, and it excels at debuff removal, but now that there's a handful of poison immune enemies in the game, it's just great, not the all-around attack card it used to be. Gonaku's Swiftblade is the only card that I can think of that is somewhat competition to Astral Surge, but even it has more of a noticeable downside than Astral Surge, requiring both copies to be in your hand to activate the 30x2 conditional. 20 life loss damage from Demon Lore or top deck luck, make your choice. When it comes to damage and downsides, Astral Surge stands out among the rest, and for good reason. However, you might have noticed that I've been missing a key component of the card's stats, and that's because we have a whole section on it due to how much it's a game changer. So let's talk about that 3-bit refund. If you don't care about tempo in Hexaria, congratulations, you've already lost. Tempo in card games is more or less the pace or rhythm of the game. How efficiently players are using up their resources to advance their game plan. Using bits in an effective manner every turn opens up the door for combos that can progress a fight much faster. It's why high cost cards give you as high a value as they do, since you're either spamming bit gains or waiting a lot of turns to use them. The payoff has to be worth it tempo-wise. Astral Surge refunds 3 bits, meaning as long as you don't have Curse, or bits are taken away from you by enemies like Dark Mages, you'll always have at least 4 bits at the start of your next turn, and a lot of high impact cards which are used a lot in Hexaria cost 4 or less bits that you can actually combo into after using Astral Surge. Your Darksteel Longblades, your Iron Broadswords, Bishop, Tremor, and so on. Because of this, it's a very flexible attack card that can be used in a lot of different deck structures. We already went over Buff Shot, but gimmickless, self-burn, high-cost decks, AT decks, and even brawler decks to an extent can see good value out of Astral Surge. With Inspire Up, you can even chain 2 Astral Surges together in back-to-back turns. The amount of bits you get back after Astral Surge can give you so much momentum in a fight, more than really any obtainable card in the game, and it really rewards creativity in deck building. If you're at this point in the video, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, feel free to leave a like on the video so more people can see it. If you want to know when more content drops, feel free to subscribe as well. You could throw Astral Surge in almost any deck and it would still greatly help you, but let's pretend we're being thoughtful here. You might remember that I previously said that we were going to go over its high bit cost as a downside later. Well, later is now. Bit gains are your best friend with Astral Surge. However, getting to 5 bits as an early game player can be tough, as you're typically going to be at a lack of bit gains, cards that give you more bits at a downside. Although there are still options for bit gains in early game. The easiest bit gains you can get when starting out are Shadow Trade from Ganaku and Meditation from Mystic Wisdom card packs. Bringing turn fillers, zero-cost cards, can help you be productive while passively gaining bits for Astral Surge, and you have a lot of options at your disposal. Choose whichever ones you think will help your deck out the best. Now, if you have no zero-cost cards or bit gains to play, the easiest way to gain bits is to just pass your turn by clicking the pass button, or pressing the 3 key if you're running Hexaria on a computer. When you pull Astral Surge, try to come up with a game plan a few turns ahead on how you could spend the refunded bits. Check what's in your hand and get creative. Overall, bring a few bit gains as you'd always do in deck building when picking Astral Surge, and have an open mind on how you'd use Astral Surge as a combo starter. So, how do you actually get your hands on this powerhouse? For early game, it's quite simple. In Ulbrich 1, which you can get access in Cambris Extern 1 from this portal, you'll notice a patch of the map occupied by enemies called Undead Astral Mages, and an NPC nearby which is uncontested the worst designed character in the game. Interact with the worst designed character in the game and click through 8 lines of unneeded dialogue, since getting Astral Surge completes a quest too, so we're gonna be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, we're getting Astral Surge. Undead Astral Mages are enemies with a decent amount of health that buff up with Astral Blessing and then hit you with a base 75 damage Shadow Bolt afterwards. When deck building for this fight, you're looking to bring Confusion, AoE cards, and Summons, as they'll either redirect the buff Shadow Bolt or give you good damage due to how Undead Astral Mages tend to bunch up within melee range of a target. I recommend getting some other party members when doing this fight, as it'll greatly assist you on the field, but it's entirely optional. Undead Astral Mages have a 3% chance to drop Astral Surge, but with multiple of them in a fight, these odds are much higher than they seem. After you obtain an Astral Surge, you can optionally finish the Astral Quest by interacting with the worst designed character in the game again, and mashing through 28 more lines of dialogue to unlock the NPC shop. Don't forget that Astral Surge is an ultra rare card, so you really want to get 2 copies of Astral Surge before you're done with Undead Astral Mages. After you obtain your full set of Astral Surges, congrats! You now have one of the best cards in the game at your disposal. Now have some fun with it. So now that I've argued how amazing Astral Surge is in deck building, I think it's fair to ask, should Astral Surge be nerfed? Not really. We all know the balancing directive has changed towards welcoming power creep, and having as strong of an early game card as Astral Surge isn't that big of an issue. It somewhat helps game progression if anything. After all, Core Infliction has been around since the start of the game, and has been one of the best cards players have had access to, and you can get it from Cambris. As more content releases, Astral Surge will likely become more grounded in the metagame, and the debate on the hardest hitting 2-bit attack card will be a little bit more nuanced. So, you now know the ins and outs of Astral Surge, now get out there and gain some tempo.